we want to make sure that we get the links up. So this is technically not the beginning. Just give us a moment. Let me just get it closer. But yeah, I'm gonna grab the link now. If you want to keep them entertained. Yeah. We don't have anyone watching right now, but still. Because this will still, all of the beginning will still be in the actual upload, too. So.
They can't edit out any other bloopers.
Can't edit the bloopers out. Haven't figured that out yet.
This is the only time where bloopers will be in this video.
Now I've got the link. Let me check the audio quality. I'm checking the audio quality. Okay, audio quality's good. Da-da-da-da. Now I'm going to Facebook. And I'm going to go to More Than Friends. Oh my god. Oh, I forgot that the Facebook app doesn't work. I have to go to Pages. There we go. Give me a moment, sorry.
Slowly.
Feel free to, converse.
Hey.
Hey. Hi. There we are.
We are live now.
Come on. There you go.
Seated at the table.
Get it.
Join us on YouTube as we figure out.
Wait, what? That's good.
Publish. Every now and then there will just be random robot noises. I hope that's okay.
Well, then robot noises well included.
There we go. I need to
ignore the random robot noises.
How do I unban?
Robot noises are kind of frequent.
I think it's only if we never mind. I thought it was only if we hit it.
Oh, can I hit the thing? Look. Oh shit!
So wait, that's true.
It's kind of neat.
And that was live.
It's fine. Cursing is okay. That's fine.
Yeah, there you go. Alright, yeah, I knocked that down twice.
Here, while I'm sharing links and stuff, go ahead and just share a story. How about that? Share a random story.
Let me see.
Because I have to share this to all kinds of things, and it's my first time trying to figure this out.
Once upon a time.
The end.
Right? Once upon a time when I was back in middle school. Why is there caramel on my phone? What you eat, Steven?
Why is there what on your phone?
Caramel, man.
Oh, I thought you said... I did not think you said caramel.
Wait, hold up. My apologies.
This is a family-friendly show.
Yeah, that's what I was about to
This is rated for everyone. No, it ain't. Yeah, when I was back in middle school, though, I wasn't the most obedient kid, per se. I mean, I listened to teachers. I had my favorites, but some of them just pissed me off. Yeah.
That actually reminds me of a little note, real fast. Speak loudly.
Hi!
Not that one.
Oh.
But just in case, because I think when we talk quietly, it's not going to be able to pick us up. So we need to speak loudly so that the camera, or the microphone on the camera can pick us up.
Oh, so not talk like this, but talk like this. And
Talk normally, yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Or like a little louder than normally, I guess.
And while everybody is watching, I just knocked the banner down twice.
You knocked it down?
Oh yeah, sure did. See?
All the way down? Oh my god. I didn't even know that it actually came down.
I can't.
What if it just broke
I can't
forever?
knock it
What if it
down.
never worked again?
What if it just like completely fell like right where the banner is, and you just like, oh shit, the banner's gone. It's knocked down.
Okay, where is the thing? And then you wanted me to post it on your page too, Sawyer?
Yeah, don't mind.
And then if you want to, Caleb, you can just go on the seat at the table page and share that.
Oh, no. Well, we're sharing it with my personal page,
How many, is that one watching? One viewer?
Yep, we have one viewer. Hello, viewer.
Hello.
Oh, that's
you want? Oh, did you? Oh, well, hello.
Welcome.
We're still sharing the links and stuff, so. And then I'm going to tag some people on my personal page.
So will the comments show up down there or where?
They'll show up on the side to the right.
On the side?
So we'll see the comments on there.
Okay. I'm very computer illiterate. Hi.
Okay, so now we have 2 viewers. And that's actually kind of neat because then we can look straight ahead and we can see the comments.
Yeah.
I actually really like that.
I like that.
That's a lot better than not.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Caleb.
One sec.
Okay, let me know when you're done, and then we can go ahead and actually officially start. Sorry. I like the idea of just like having people hiding behind the couch the entire time. Every now and then, if you want to just like make gremlin noises. And then that way people who start watching will be like, what the fuck? What is this? Just like show a hand or something.
Alrighty. So, whenever you are ready. Live now on YouTube.
Did you share it to my page?
Yes.
Sweet. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I shared it on your page, I shared it on my page, I think Caleb just shared it on his. We have it on Seat at the Table and More Than Friends. I don't reckon we'll have too many viewers.
Very, very likely not. We already got 3.
Oh, wow. Alright.
Hello.
Hello.
So I guess, well, he's also going to share. Take your time. We're just getting into the meat of everything. As people begin to see the broadcast and everything, I will go ahead and say welcome to our podcast for the week. It is Caleb, Stephen, and our very special guest, Sawyer. Thank you for being on the show with us. Welcome,
Thank you.
everybody, to See at the Table. This is our inaugural broadcast for YouTube. And I said earlier in the week, we appreciate you guys for bearing with us as we've continued to just find different ways to make the show better, and this was one of our best ways.
One of our
yet.
attempts.
Yeah.
Well, like we were gonna do the show on like streaming from a laptop, and there were like some issues with like saving the video afterwards, and I knew from some of our previous things on the More Than Friends channel that doing like a live stream from the PlayStation, it saved the video. So since I knew that already worked, we just decided to try it out, and it turns out that you can do some kind of neat things. Like you can put the little banners, so we've got the logos up there, and then down here on the bottom we have information on how to donate, so we can get some fancy things going on.
Really, and I understand that this is our first live show, but
On YouTube.
on YouTube.
From a PlayStation.
From a PlayStation. But as always, guys, please don't forget, like and subscribe for additional content as we will continue to air through YouTube. That will be our main source or platform source to bring videos. But we'll always still utilize links and bring them up to Facebook to our viewers and everything.
Hold on. Somebody said, "Where's the midgets?" What?
Where are their midgets?
Is it because it probably says my PSN ID is midget guy?
Steve.
And so, like, since this is streaming on PlayStation, you'll probably see midget guy. That's just my PlayStation Network ID. So, yeah, we're all midgets in the grand scheme of things.
Some taller than others.
Yeah, some midgets are just very tall. A normal-sized person is actually just a tall midget. So we're all.
I mean, don't go across and say, "Oh, you were just a tall midget." No. Don't
Mike
like
Rowe, you're a midget.
I'm a 5'4" midget. 5'6".
I think I'm like 5'2".
Well, I'm about 5'6". 5'6", 5'7". I don't even know what the fuck my height is, but I know I'm a midget too, so it is what it is for me.
But anyways, thank you for watching, Mike, and thank you for commenting. And sorry if you're let down by the lack of midgetry. Midgetry, is that a word?
Midgetry.
Midgetness. But anyway, so this episode is not about midgets. I'm sorry, Mike. I'm so sorry. But this episode is not about midgets. Instead, we are going to talk about something that is very, I guess, personal for at least two of us here. We're going to be talking about cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
You two could probably explain infinitely better than I could, so...
Yeah, so cerebral palsy is a grand scheme of things, both myself and Sawyer, we have cerebral palsy. I'm not necessarily sure on what the grade of cerebral palsy is with Sawyer. I know that mine is particularly very mild. But either way, anybody who has cerebral palsy does affect primarily motor skill, with being able to walk, hand and eye coordination, balance. Some have learning, or some of that affects learning as well, or it can affect learning. And even in the severe schemes of cases, it can even...
Sorry for the robot sounds, by the way.
Sorry for the robot sounds.
I don't know how to turn those off.
Even in the grand scheme of things, it can leave the more severe or most severe wheelchair-bound or unable to move, unable to be mobile. What we're here to talk about today is more so just how cerebral palsy can affect one in one's relationships of all facets, learning and stuff like that, and kind of what the grand scheme or what the thought processes are for somebody who has an ailment such as this.
And if any of you watching have any specific questions or comments for Caleb and Sawyer, feel free to just reach out. You can put your question right under this YouTube video as a comment. We'll see it on the screen and we'll be able to answer your questions. So if you have any questions about cerebral palsy, how it affects their life, really anything. I mean, even a random question, it's fine.
Yeah, questions are cool too.
And I love questions, so fire away.
Fire away.
Well, Sawyer, I guess we'll start the show and everything. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, and where you come from, and how life is for you.
Okay.
Especially throughout this pandemic and everything.
League of Legends. I don't understand that question. I know. I know what League of Legends.
Thank you for having me on.
No problem. Anytime.
I was honored when I got invited to be on the show. I am. Should I like introduce myself fully and tell where I'm from and stuff? So, I'm Sawyer. Obviously, I'm 30 years old. I'm from Southern Indiana. As Caleb mentioned, I have cerebral palsy as well. My cerebral palsy is ataxic cerebral palsy, which means that my muscle fibers are spread further apart than the opposite of that, which would be spasticity, meaning more involuntary muscle movements, and it primarily affects my trunk muscles, meaning the lower half of my body. Cerebral obviously means brain, palsy means muscle groups, so it affects the brain signals that go to my muscles to tell them how to operate get mixed up. Am I
You're correct.
right?
That's actually, I never knew that. I mean,
So
I knew what it was called, but I never knew, like, I didn't even think about what each word actually meant. So you said cerebral
means brain,
refers to the brain, and then palsy,
muscle groups.
muscle grips. Okay.
So a lot of the muscle grips, meaning hand, foot. Well, really, mostly hand and foot coordination, but they can also affect eyes as well. Eye coordination. And when we're talking about the effects of cerebral palsy, I mean, we're speaking of, like Sawyer had said, how the brain itself can throw signals and they are delayed, so to speak, to where the muscles aren't able to. You're not able to. I'm losing my train of thought here. Coordinate as well as anybody else would, or anybody that would normally have it. So there's actually 3 types of cerebral palsy. Spastic is one, which mainly affects the lower half of the body.
Okay.
There are 2. I'm gonna go ahead and Google this.
Do some research.
Because there are 3 types of them, and I forgot the other 2. So I'm going to go ahead and.
The second one's ataxia, and I forget the third one.
Yeah, so there's spastics, ataxic. There is athetoid, and then there's also a mixed form, which could be 2.
Any combination.
Any combination.
Okay.
The difference of them being, and I'll go ahead and click in here. One second. Sorry.
Do you want a drum roll for the result?
It sure is.
Any minute now.
Any minute. Sorry, guys. All right. So spastic cerebral palsy, which is the most common type. So that's what we have. It affects about 80% of the people that have cerebral palsy.
Okay.
Now, as we have stated, it increases. We have increased muscle tone. So basically, what that means, muscles are stiff, movements can be awkward. So what Sawyer himself probably has is, and me myself, spastic diplegia, which is muscle stiffness mainly in the legs. Legs, arms, less affected or not affected at all, but mainly more so walking because of tight hip and leg muscles causing their legs to pull together, turn inward and cross at the knees. The other
So
one,
like tightened muscles in the legs and difficulty. Is it difficulty between like the brain communicating with the muscles,
mm-hmm.
and that's what kind of makes it hard to coordinate movements? Is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. Now there is athetoid is another way of saying dyskinetic. Dyskinetic. So People with dyskinetic cerebral palsy has problems controlling the movement of their hands, arms, feet, legs. So difficulty being able to sit and walk. Sometimes the movements are uncontrollable. It can be slow with and writhing, or rapid and jerky. So kind of think of it like a muscle spasm.
Okay.
So like some muscle spasms can be uncontrollable. It's kind of sort of along that same line, so to speak. Sometimes the face and tongue are affected as well, and the person has a hard time sucking, swallowing, or talking. And then also, dyskinetic CP has muscle tone that can change. I'm sorry, I can't talk. And it can vary from too tight or too loose, not only from day to day, but even during a single day. And then, of course, the last, which is ataxic, is basically individuals who have problems with balance or coordination. So they might be unsteady when they walk. They might have a hard time with quick movements, or movements that need a lot of control, like writing. They also may have a hard time with controlling their hands or arms when they reach for something.
So, like, is it okay if I ask some questions?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I want to get into your guys' individual experiences.
Okay.
So, if you want, we can. I'll start with you, Sawyer.
Okay.
So, how has? Am I saying it correctly? Cerebral or cerebral?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't
I say cerebral palsy.
Okay.
I can't pronounce it the other way.
So how does cerebral palsy affect your life? No, but like seriously though, how does so how would you say that cerebral palsy has affected your life?
Well, I would say that's a very long explanation.
I know it's a big question, but like I'll say like day-to-day life.
So, cerebral palsy.
Can you imagine if, like, just for 30 minutes we were just the entire time? That would be difficult. Maybe next stream, if anyone wants to just watch us, just make noises.
I'll say the less deep stuff first, I guess. So when I work out,
gonna ease into it.
Yeah, when I work out, for example, when I'm like on the treadmill, I have to rely a lot on the handlebars on the side of the treadmill, and I've been trying to teach my body not to. So I will go however long I can without using the handlebars, and then if I have to, I will for a second or two, and then try to rebalance myself.
God, I can only imagine. I have so many problems using a treadmill.
It makes it,
and I don't have cerebral palsy, so I can only imagine like how much more difficult. You know what I mean? Like, I probably wouldn't even bother trying personally, because I don't even bother trying now.
Sometimes sometimes I just say screw it and use the elliptical or something. But it's aggravating. And sometimes it leads to more sweating just because I'm using a half of my energy just trying to keep my balance.
Yeah. It's probably a more efficient or effective workout too.
Oh, yeah, I would say so. I was told, speaking of that, that people with cerebral palsy actually burn more calories walking the same amount of distance as an able-bodied person. Have you heard that as well?
I've actually never heard of that.
Yeah.
Do you think...
Because it takes more energy to walk.
Now,
I don't feel it, but...
With that being said, that's interesting, but Now, I don't know very many people with cerebral palsy. However, personally, I have never met an overweight person with cerebral palsy. Do you think there's like a connection there?
I feel like there is. I feel like I would want to do more research on that, but I feel like there is because I've met people with cerebral palsy who are underweight, like me. So I mean, I feel like there is a correlation there without being an expert. I feel like there is.
That's kind of interesting, actually. But like, it would make sense since it takes more effort walking, and so like, I've heard a lot of things about how like walking is a good form of exercise just because it's something you can do whenever. So like the fact that even just walking takes more effort, it exerts more energy, burns more calories. It's interesting. But yeah, so exercise, walking.
Exercise. Walking, with walking, it's not really noticeable, in regards to, I trip all the time, but it's noticeable enough, like stairs, for example. I might be wobbly walking upstairs. Walking downstairs, I might have to rely on the handrails, even though I sometimes make a conscious effort not to. So I'll get into some deep stuff now because that's where I'm going in my head.
All right.
So I can't.
Thanks for the disclaimer.
I can't really stop myself from doing it now. So it's noticeable for other people, and that's why I was so excited when you invited me on the show, because I feel like it may be a broader audience to get my point across. I can't speak for everybody, but I can speak for me when people look at me, people look at the way I walk or the way I might hold my head to the side, again, because muscles in my neck, and my right side's more dominant than my left. People assuming that I have an intellectual or cognitive disability, and treating me as such. So they might, like you would talk to a child, like, hey buddy, or how you doing today, buddy, or, just stuff that you can tell that it's meant to patronize. And I'm not saying that's the case all the time, because I know buddy is a colloquialism. Meaning that people from different regions say different things, which is normal to them. And buddy is one of those that happens to be a southern thing, right? But I also listen to the tone of voice when they say buddy, because if you're going like, there's a difference to me if you're going, oh, hey, bud, or whatever. Hey, buddy, what's up?
Yeah.
So.
Do you think that people who act like that are aware of it? Like, do you think that it's a conscious decision that they're making, or do you think it's subconscious?
It has to do with what I think. It has to do a lot with what the whole country's been talking about lately, and that's implicit bias, and unconscious bias. Implicit bias is what, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I might be, but implicit bias, from what I understand, is bias that we don't necessarily think about, that we get maybe taught. I can't talk either. Taught. I can't. We get taught our whole lives. And we have this we get these ingrained stereotypes of people. And therefore we might go treat somebody a certain way without even knowing it because of those ingrained stereotypes.
And so Tazzy just commented, sorry to interrupt, but so Tazzy said, do you mean sometimes people are condescending?
Do you believe that?
I don't think people mean to be. I don't think everybody means to be condescending. I think it just happens, and that comes into an argument of, you know, I had somebody tell me one time, well, as long as they're being nice to you, and as long as they're being nice, then who really cares? I hate that argument, because it doesn't. It's like I don't know how to describe it. How would you know where I'm going?
I think so. It's kind of like someone, like, even if somebody's being nice, just being treated differently makes people, I think, feel different. And I think, like, for example, I always thought, like, I mean, I can't necessarily relate to cerebral palsy. However, and this is not really in any way correlated at all, but I'm gay, as you all know, but as some of you might not know. And when I first came out of the closet, I remember a lot of, well, actually, like, most of my female friends were excited, and they were like, oh, I've always wanted a gay friend. And then, like, I'm like, wait, no, I don't want anything about our friendship to change. And they're like, no, you're my gay friend. And then they started treating me like the gay friend. And so, like, even though they were being nice and they were, you know, inviting me to places, and they're like, oh, now we can talk about girly things. I'm like, no, I don't want to be treated differently. I don't want to be, I just want to be who I am, and I want to be treated like another human. Not better, not worse. It doesn't matter if you're nice about it. Just be a fucking human with me. You know what I mean? And I feel like, I mean, is that kind of what you're getting at? Is like,
yeah, I would say that's exactly what I'm getting at. I mean, that's a good point. It's just because someone's being nice to you doesn't mean they don't get your whole story, you know.
Sorry.
I was just gonna say, even this is even if it's like saying, it's like the argument I posted something on Facebook that I believe you saw about sharing my story and relating into the whole I don't see color argument.
mm-hmm.
About me being kicked out of bars for people thinking I'm drunk, or, you know, getting questioned all the time about, oh, are you drunk or whatever. And it's like, well, how can you acknowledge that those things were unfair to me if you don't acknowledge my whole identity? Meaning,
That's a hell of a good point.
I think I don't mean to digress. I don't mean to cut you guys short or anything. I just wanted to bring up this point. I think you know, for people who have not just cerebral palsy, but people in general that have disabilities and things like that, I think there is a problem. There's a connection problem that happens when it comes to people that don't have anything wrong or haven't been through anything versus someone who has. Like with Sawyer, you know, with individuals who would tease him and make fun of him for being in bars. Nothing's wrong with him. He doesn't see anything wrong with him. You know, but to others, they think differently because they haven't experienced what he's experienced. It's the same thing with me. You know, I've even experienced you know, different things, you know, throughout high school and things like that, where people just didn't understand, and to be honest, they didn't necessarily want to accept me for being different. And so I think that helps bring an importance to awareness for disabilities like this, because the individual who has these disabilities and has these challenges, the individual who has these disabilities and challenges, they are the ones who try their best to speak out, because they can't, and in a lot of instances, Sawyer and I can't control CP.
And I would say that's my hardest challenge that I wanted to talk about, is just, you know, being treated like I'm having an intellectual disability when I don't. I might talk or walk or give off the appearance that I do. Oftentimes cerebral palsy does give off that appearance, and I can definitely see how it would. But I think the main thing I want people who are watching to take away from this is that, you know, sometimes like Caleb, I believe you said earlier, sometimes cerebral palsy can coexist with other, maybe cognitive or delays or whatever, but it isn't always like that. So
I'd have to agree with that. You know, because like I said, there are some individuals, unfortunately, who just don't see, who just don't see the fact that an individual has a disability, and that makes the challenge so much more difficult when you try to express yourself in a sense to way, okay, I may have these challenges, but I'm still a man. I may have these challenges, but I'm still a woman. I still have a voice, even though this is affecting, or you know, this is affecting me, or this is causing limitations. I'm still me. Accept me for me. Don't think any less of me. Just accept me for me. Don't think just because I have a disability that I walk funny, that, you know, and I can't do anything for myself. Just because I have a disability, just because I look like I'm slow-footed, or how my posture is coordinated, how that may strike something as weird, or like even back in the day when I first started dating, and I you know, because I'm old school and I like to, you know, converse with you know, parents. I don't do the whole, oh, I'm just going to take you away and just, you know, we just going to do our thing. No, I'm meeting your parents first.
See, that's the opposite of my approach.
So
I kidnapped my husband.
so you know, even with approaches like that, you know, where I would meet the girl's parents or whatever, and then the father of the girl I'd be talking to at the time or whatever, you know, he would say, well, something's wrong with them, and he would, you know, sometimes they would come straight up to me and they'd say, hey, you know, what's up with you? Why you walk like that? Or why is your posture this? And why is this going on? Why is that going on? Same thing in high school. People used to pick on me. You know, people used to, you know, pick on me just because of X, Y, and Z. You know, and the disability was a key factoid too. So, you know, I think it really just boils down to, you know, having this voice to say, my name is Sawyer, my name is Caleb, my name is John, Joseph, Susie, Caitlin, whoever
You've
your
got a lot of
name is, whoever your name is, you know, and it's just saying, do not belittle me because of what I have. Don't think any less of me because of what I have. Don't think of any less of me because of what you can see what my challenges are. You know I'm a kind individual. You know I'm up front and up forward with you. Just take me as an individual. Rate me on my, what did Dr. King say? Don't rate me on my color. And this is the same thing, for this too. Don't rate me on my color, but rate me on my character. It's the same thing. Don't rate me on disability. Rate me on my character. If I come off as a douchebag, then you have all the room in the world to call me a douche. But outside looking at me, not knowing my story, don't come to me and say, oh, well, he's just a douche. He ain't nothing. He's just going to get in the truck, stuff like that. So it just really boils down to, things like that, and spreading that type of awareness.
So I have a question.
Sure.
I have a lot of questions.
Take all your time.
So with that being said, like wanting to be treated, judged for your character and nothing else, do you think that it's important that people know that you have cerebral palsy? Do you think that that's important?
I think, in my opinion, when you first meet somebody, when you first, talk with someone, I feel as if it's not necessarily important for that individual to know right off the bat, not unless, you begin to get to know the individual and then, you open up yourself to the individual, then yes, okay, let them know, so that way there isn't any shortcomings, there's nothing, to jobs, of course, let them know, hey, I got a disability, just letting you know. But to anybody off rap or off the street or, just anybody randomly,
and how about you,
not
Sawyer?
specifically.
Do you think that it's important that people know?
I tend to think it is.
You can just stand up and walk. You don't have to crawl. Sorry, there's people behind our couch. Don't ask. It's fine. It's for a show we're doing later. It's for the sex cam. But they're just they're back there getting ready. So
I tend to think. I'm
serious.
Sorry, it's all across the spectrum with seat at the table.
Well,
so
I guess I take that back. I personally like people to know, and I personally think it is, just because of my experiences. Knowing now that people do treat me like that, I mean, people are ignorant, either willfully or unwillfully. And so I like people to know, but I also understand that doesn't, the fact that I like people to know doesn't mean that I think have an opinion one way or the other, whether it's important for people to know. I just like people to know in my case. Mm-hmm. Because then I know what kind of person I'm dealing with. Are they gonna treat me like me for it? Or are they gonna be some patronizing ass bag?
Ass bag. Sorry, I
don't know.
I wasn't expecting the ass bag. I wasn't
either. But you like that, right? Yeah.
I like the ass bag. It's a good. You don't have to crawl. It's okay. You can just walk.
I'm gonna address this question from John Jones.
Oh, we have a question. Hello, John.
Hello, John. Welcome to the Seat at the Table. And his question was, do you think people are coherently good in society?
Inherently, yeah.
Or inherently good.
So
I don't know if he
people
means and society or in society.
I think
society.
I think they're asking whether we think people are good.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there's more. Okay,
okay.
all right, okay.
So do you think people are good, or do you think people are inherently good and society corrupts them? Or I inherently,
Or are inherently
bad and society controls them?
Sorry,
Good question. Sorry about
it's
that.
written fine. It's just on our end. It's kind of like spliced. You can probably see it on the screen, so it's kind of difficult to read on our end. But yeah.
Sorry.
So they're asking, do you think people are good and society makes them bad, or do you think people are bad and society makes them better, like controls them or tempers their behavior?
That's a good question, man.
It's a big question.
It's a really good question. So I think people can be inherently good, but society controls the way we think, feel, adapt to things, and things of that nature. I mean, if you think about it, I believe, and this is, I guess, my personal opinion. I believe that society controls how, or dictates, should I say, how we feel, how we should think, and all of that. Music. Different types of music responds to different people, and I mean, even society dictates on what's the hottest clothes or hottest trends of clothing, music, cars, things of that nature, and then the people themselves, respond to that both positively and negatively. Now, I mean, in regards to people upon people, people versus people, when it comes to society, I feel as if overall that can affect society, can affect on how people would react to other people, just depending on what that situation is. If there is like, for example, the pandemic, with how everybody has been trying to go for it with unemployment. That's a good example. People trying to go forward with unemployment, and so many people backing up on that. People are still going after unemployment and things of that nature. And with how the states are regulating the unemployment, whether that individual is approved or denied, that could make the individual feel a certain type of way. And so I just feel as if a lot of what we do, whether we go to the grocery market, whether we go to the grocery store and we find a pound of bananas that is astronomically higher than they were last week, or we go to the gas station and we find out that gas has went up $4 for the gallon. Not realistically, but all of that has those individual places to play when it comes to society. So,
well, like within the context of kind of what we were talking about with like inherent biases and things like that, do you think that that's kind of ingrained in who they are, I guess?
Inherent biases?
Yeah. Or do you think that that's kind of something that is sort of like placed onto them by society? Like, do you think that these things are taught?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Look, you can't sit here.
Here we go.
You can't sit here and tell me that.
I think I just did.
Well, call me Susie. No. See, an individual, a young individual that befriends somebody else, like you befriending me, and we're 3 years old. Both of us are 3 years old. You wouldn't think.
I have no idea.
You wouldn't think to have any biases against me. You're just looking at me. Oh, this is a nice young boy, just like myself. We're gonna play at the playground. You don't have no hard feelings against me. You don't know any better of me to have any biases.
I agree.
You agree with that?
So society has a lot to play with that. Some society, and then also how some of it has to do with how people is taught, and then some of it has to do with society. but it is learned. It's not something that's just automatically ingrained in them, when they're born or when they're really young, unless it's taught. So.
I'm glad that you brought up the idea of like if we're 3 years old and we were to meet each other or whatever, because yeah, I don't think I would treat you differently. But it's interesting though because like trying to put myself into that perspective, I would most certainly acknowledge our differences, but I wouldn't treat you differently unless you gave me a reason to treat you differently.
So
it's like if you stole my toy.
So all right. So I'm gonna follow up. Okay. I'm gonna follow up. So
there we go.
So with
buckle your seatbelts.
So you wouldn't. So you would address the differences. Would you address them to me?
Probably not.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I'm 3 years old. I would probably say it out loud. But.
So, well, I mean, you wouldn't know any better, but you would, and I wouldn't know what you.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John. Thanks for the question. Excellent question. I wouldn't know how to perceive that. You see what I'm saying? I'm 3 years old. I wouldn't know how to perceive that. You know what I'm saying? All I know is I'm going outside to play.
Yeah.
You see, and so. Even if you were to address those accidentally or purposefully out of your mouth, you're through. You see, so I think as a grown individual, that captures to be more intuitive. You're able to actually capture what the individual says, and you're able to diagnose that and then go off from that. But when you're younger, you don't know. You just don't know.
I feel like there are some things though that you do know. Like for example, you two. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but ever since you could walk, you've probably had difficulty walking. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've known that. You've understood that, even if you didn't have words to put it together. Like as a kid, or did you not? Were you aware that there were differences between your experience walking and other people's experience walking? I guess that's the question to start with.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't start walking without a walker until I was 8, or somewhere around that age.
So before 8 years old, were you cognizant of the fact that you're walking with a walker and other kids aren't?
I don't remember because I was 8.
Well, like what I'm saying is, like, I feel like, I mean, I understand that it's difficult for me to put myself in your guys' shoes just because this is an experience that I haven't experienced. So, with that being said, I apologize ahead of time if I say anything that's just wrong or is kind of, not empathetic, I guess. But, like, really the only major thing that makes me different from other people, in my opinion, or at least the major thing in my mind, is my sexuality. And as a kid, even pre-puberty, I still had some sort of an understanding of that, even if it wasn't. It didn't have like a sexual feeling or a sexual nature around it, obviously, because it was before puberty. But I still like kind of knew that I wanted to be around guys more than girls. It like sort of subconsciously, which is kind of weird, I guess, to explain. But even though I didn't have that language or that like a way to communicate that, it was something that I acknowledged to myself when I was a kid. Like it's something that I was aware of. And even though I didn't have a way to explain it, it's something that I kind of like filed in the back of my head. And growing up with that filed in the back of my mind, I was immediately, like as a kid, as soon as I understood this thing. Now back then I had my own internalized way of kind of communicating that to myself. I would be like, oh, I really want to be that guy's friend. That was how I understood the idea of having a crush on somebody when I was a kid. It was weird. But anyway, so like I would understand that was different from other kids my age, and I would immediately start sort of categorizing people differently. And I would be like, okay, does this person feel the same way as I do? Probably not. And I would kind of go through life like that, and I would be like, oh, okay, I'm different from this person. I'm different from this person. I'm different from this person. And then as I grew up, there was even more information coming in, and I would hear things like, why don't you play sports? Which is such a stupid thing to attribute to sexuality anyways. But I would hear things like that, or I would hear things like, boys don't say that kind of thing, or they don't use that kind of word. I would file that in the back of the memory bank. So growing up, I would be aware of these differences, and I would become increasingly more cognizant. But I was still cognizant of them when I was a kid. But having that difference, even if I wasn't treated differently, because these are things that, especially when I was younger, nobody fucking knew. I didn't even really know a way to communicate that. Nobody knew, but I felt different. And so that feeling of difference kind of put me in this situation where I grew up differently because I had that different sort of view of myself in comparison to other people. And I'm wondering if it's the same for you guys, and if it's the same for other people on the outside looking in. Like, imagine being another kid and you're like, I mean, the whole sexuality thing doesn't really work. But imagine being another kid and you're like, okay, I'm different from this person because that person walks different than I do. Or I'm different from this person because that person has a different skin color than I do. So from their perspective, do you think that that is... The battery's about to die. It's fine, it can die. Do you think that that kind of helps explain, I don't want to say justify, but helps explain how when somebody gets older they might treat someone differently? Because I think that's kind of the root of the question that they're asking is, well, I mean, that kind of destroys the question, because I feel like at that point it's both of those things. It's somebody being like both. Well, I don't even know.
I think overall, growing up, when you are around when you're around a social audience of other people, whether you're just growing up in the neighborhood or you're just in middle school, where gossip would be the talk of Main Street, so to speak, and everybody would be saying a little bit of everything, you would automatically know. I mean, especially for people who is already, who already knows that they're different, regardless if it's sexuality or regardless if it's a physical, mental, emotional battle. You would automatically know, okay, so I'm going to be different, from these individuals because I'm this and they are not this. I can't relate to somebody who has cerebral palsy because I don't have cerebral palsy. But the surrounding question to that would then become, would I treat that individual different because he's different than me? And that's what I believe that can cause a lot of inherent bias, like what John was saying. Especially as you get older and as you attribute to things, because we see things earlier on in life where we take away who the individual actually is. Like, I can't, for me to stand by the door and to judge Sawyer without actually talking to him and without actually establishing a connection with him, I'm wrong in so many facets. See what I'm saying? Like,
well, you have to make a lot of assumptions at least.
Right. Well, right. But what I'm saying is that's what individuals do, especially like with younger, in middle school, high school, even in elementary, where you come across by saying, oh, well, I don't want to hang out with him because he's weird, or I don't want to hang out with him because he's this or she's that or this, that, or the third, when you actually haven't established a connection with the individual. So then you continue to grow up, and then even if you were to rebound and see that individual again, you'd be like, hey, you're the guy or you're the girl that did this weird thing back in such and such time. That reopens up and reestablishes reestablishes this this uncomfortableness that might have been hidden when you were a kid because you didn't know.
That's a good point, because like there's this guy, not to say any names, but I think his name's Jake Fessler. But I went to elementary school with him, and one time during lunch he stuck his straw up his nose, and he drank his milk through his nose. And then I went on with my life. You know, I grew up. Years and years later, I saw him in public, and I was like, holy shit. That's that weird-ass kid who drank milk through his nose. And I was immediately like, that's the nose drinker. Like, I didn't think of him with any other context other than that's the nose drinker.
And that's why I think it's relatable to what Sawyer was saying earlier. Because if you think about it, the biases or the assumption, should we say, hello, the assumptions that should we say, that individuals would place on others help grows out this uncomfortableness that a lot of Americans face. Black Americans, white Americans, people of color, Asians, Orientals,
nose drinkers,
everybody. And so
I couldn't drink milk for a year because of it.
But I'm saying, that's exactly the reason why I say that it's so important. That's the reason why there's that old saying: you don't know what I've been through unless you walked in my shoes. It's the same principle. You know, whether you have an individual with a disability, whether you have an individual who grew up without a father figure, you got an individual who you perceive that's going to get in trouble just because he has dreadlocks or what have you, and you haven't even talked to the individual. You see what I'm saying? Without establishing a connection with somebody, you can't. It would be wrong for individuals to assume who that character actually is. And so that's the reason why it's so important to bring these types of conversations to the light, whether you have a disability or you're of a different sexuality or what have you. But yeah, to bring it to that point, a lot of kids do it all day, every day, you know, but they don't know any better unless they get corrected. And then when they get corrected, the parents says, okay, you shouldn't have done that because of this, that, or the third. They still may not grasp or gravitate toward why what he or she had said was wrong or was upsetting or what have you. So, I mean, just things like that really is what it kind of...
So do you think that, I mean, both of you, do you think that if somebody judges you immediately because of your differences, would you rather them just go on? Would you rather them just not be a part of your life? Or would you rather them talk to you about it?
So, I'll let you go on. Oh, go ahead, bro.
Sorry. So, I want to... Hearing you guys talk, I want to bring up a series of points, if I may.
Okay.
The first point...
I feel like I'm about to... I'm going to be taught a lesson or three.
So, when I was a freshman at the University of Indianapolis, my roommates, I walked in the room one time, and they were sitting on the bed just started looking at me. And I'm like, you know, what's up? And they were like, we have a question for you. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. And they asked me what I had and how did it affect me. And so I immediately lit up inside. Because I enjoy questions like that. Because I think a lot of people, that's how people get educated, is asking questions.
I was about to get scared because I'm like, oh no, if this hurt you in any way, I did the same thing. I'm literally doing that now.
That's how I have an opportunity to educate people. A lot of people are a lot of people, I think, if I heard it right, you brought this up. A lot of people are told, from a young age, maybe you, that, oh, don't ask them that question because that's offensive. And it's like, is it though? No, it's not, because that's how, if you don't ask questions, how are you gonna know? And it's just like...
That's a hot take right there.
It goes on.
Hello, CBC Doom.
It goes on.
I don't know how to
and in the events, again, I want to tie this back to what's been going on in the country recently. Because I saw a meme on Facebook.
That's where it always begins.
Yes.
Memes on Facebook.
I saw a meme on Facebook that said, I understand that I will never understand, but I stand with you. Meaning, and I took that to mean that even though relating back to my story, even though you may not understand because you don't have cerebral palsy, it's fine if you don't understand from a personal level, because obviously you can't. How could you? But it comes with educating yourself. And it comes with talking to that person and getting their lived experiences.
See, that's...
I don't mean to be doing this the whole time, but I don't know what this is.
This is important. Actually, you know what?
It's fitting, though.
Here, hold on. I think that deserves...
Thank you.
That's the applause moment of the show. Because, does it just go on forever?
Yeah, I think it does.
There we go.
There we go.
It was a big applause. I'm glad that you mentioned that too, because how can someone have any understanding? Like, obviously they can't have the full understanding unless they've experienced it, but how can somebody have any understanding if they don't hear other people's stories or other people's experience, if they don't ask those questions? And more importantly, like, we shouldn't be teaching people to be afraid to ask these questions. Like, I mean, even here, I was trying to ask a question and I got a little scared. And I was like, I don't want to offend you. So let me just explain all of these reasons why I'm trying not to be offensive, instead of just asking the fucking question. Like, I was trying my best to, like, I don't know, like, set it up in a way where it was like, okay, I'm trying to make it safe for myself. But no, I think that you bring up a good point in the fact that I think people shouldn't be afraid to ask these questions. And it's interesting that that instead of just feeling not a certain way about it one way or another, you were happy that you were asked that question. I feel like being asked a question is an invitation to speak. And so many times people don't have an invitation to speak.
So, yeah. So when I was working at a factory, maybe I shouldn't say the name for, I don't know. Anyway, so
I probably shouldn't have called out the milk drinker. He's probably going to get a lot of hate messages.
Okay.
Probably death threats for, like, drinking milk through a carton from his nose. That's just fucking weird.
Indian Drive Shack. So, when I was working at a factory,
I think I've seen that OnlyFans account. Drive Shaft?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. I love how you're both like, oh yeah, I know that one.
So
Jesus Christ.
So, I walked in. I walked in one of the rooms, and I walked in as my coworkers were talking, as some of my coworkers were talking amongst themselves, and I don't think I was supposed to hear this, and I can't say for sure if they were talking about me or not. But based on the conversation they were having, they were. This was my first day. I had walked in and I overheard one guy saying that, oh, he would, basically they were talking along the lines of, oh, if I saw someone mistreating a slow person or whatever, I would stand up for them, or how dare someone treat. And it's like, well, it's nice that they would stand up for me, but it also really hurts that you wouldn't ask me what I had first before you just decided to take it upon yourself to decide what I had. It's like,
Yeah.
Fuck me, right? You know?
Yeah, that makes sense. Because, like, I feel like a lot of times people label people, you know, before they get to know them. Like, I feel like every day we're making assumptions. Like, even myself, I'm making assumptions about people. When I see people, well, I mean, not anymore, but I used to do this thing where I would assume that everybody was straight. Now, just because I think it's funny to flip it on its head, now I just assume everyone's gay unless proven otherwise.
Yeah, I can.
Just to be contrary, I guess. But like, even that is immediately giving somebody a label, and it can, and sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does, but it can affect the way that you treat somebody. Just giving them that thing, giving them that assumption, or, you know, giving them that label without giving them the opportunity to tell you, or, you know, asking them, hey, what's your sexuality? And I don't think you should do that for everybody. I don't think
No.
I don't think the drive-through at McDonald's is excuse me, ma'am, before I take this food from you, are you gay?
Yeah.
Well,
But
I mean,
still,
you don't want to, overextend your boundaries. You know, that's the reason why, I brought up that point earlier. No, I wouldn't open up anything unless you were to get to know them first. Too many people, even as adults, too many people tend to be very, they would be very noteworthy of what they see that you don't have, or what they see that, what type of challenges that you have in your personal life, and they hang on to that, and that's the only thing that they hang on to, without establishing any type of connection. And so that is that brings all the more importance, to establish the type of connection that you need in order to actually feel comfortable with asking those questions.
I'm sorry.
I know.
What the fuck?
EPB 1983, Diva of the Abortion Bucket. Who the hell? Wait. Who is Diva the Abortion Bucket? Can you elaborate? Because I have no idea who that is.
I don't even know what.
I'm very confused.
Now, I don't mean to give you this label or make any assumptions, but what the fuck are you smoking? Diva the Abortion Bucket left me. This is... I get it. You're supposed to be turned into the stream after this one. That's for the next show.
Fair enough. Wrong stream, man. Wrong stream.
But no, okay, EPIB or EPB, whatever. I don't even know, 1983. Please explain. I don't want to shun you just yet, but what the hell?
By the way, while we're waiting on that explanation, I just want to give a shout out to my friend Sarah. Thanks for watching.
Oh, Sarah's watching?
Yeah.
I mean, what if Sarah's the E EPB 1983? I think Epid left or whatever.
Oh, whatever. Let's just keep talking. Go
Wait,
ahead, sorry.
well, I didn't really have... I actually have a question for somebody who's in the room who left a comment, but is not actually part of the show. So if I have permission, Chantel.
Hello.
Hello.
Are you okay with being on the show for a second?
Yeah, that's fine.
Do you
want me to move over?
Do you want to come over? Yeah, come over here, sit next to Caleb.
One big happy couch.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Chantel Lee to the show.
There is always a seat at the table. In this case, it's a very big seat, and there's barely a table. But
There's literally 2 tables.
there's more seat than table, as it should be.
And some have found room for, some have found comfortability to go onto the floor.
Yeah, the people behind us on the ground.
The chauffeur.
That's you can't even see the arm. You couldn't even see the arm because you were conveniently placed right behind Sawyer's head. But yeah, there are actually 2 people behind the couch. But anyway, so if you hear any random noises, it's probably them. But anyways, so Chantel, you said weird thing. I never asked the question, and you were talking about when Sawyer shared his story about asking. Like his, what was it, roommates? Is that what you said, Sawyer? Your roommates asked the question?
Yeah.
Okay. So when he was sharing the story about his roommates asking, are you guy?
We'll answer that question in just a second. Go ahead and finish your question.
All right. I don't even know how to answer that. But
Yeah. Can you elaborate, Mike, while we get this question?
Yeah. What's a Jesus influencer? What's...
Yeah, I mean, if you can't just elaborate on that, and while you do that, we'll go ahead and answer. Or go ahead and ask Chantel this question.
So anyways, as Sawyer was telling that story, you commented, the weird thing is I never asked that question. So I'm assuming that you were referring to Caleb. You never asked him about his cerebral palsy?
No, I didn't even know it existed. I didn't know cerebral palsy even existed. So it like it's how can you ask something you don't know exists? So I never asked him. I knew he had obviously something, but I didn't look at him like, oh, you have a condition or problem. And I didn't look at it as he had like any condition or problem. I just knew that because he would look at me and he would say something. I just thought he was funny. So I didn't see his disability at all. I didn't know he had a disability. I didn't notice he had a disability. I just knew that he was funny. So when he told me, he said, I have cerebral palsy. I'm like, what is that? And when he went to explaining it, and when his mom went into explaining it, I was like, oh, so you have, And when we went to work, people asked me, they're like, what's wrong with Caleb? Why he walked like that? What's wrong with his foot? Or something like that. And I'm like, why don't you ask him so he can explain it? Because it's not my story to explain to you. So, and then people ask me, how can you just be with someone and I'm like, I don't see it. I don't know if it's just because I'm not judgmental, but I don't see, like for your instance, when you say you was gay, I don't see it. Like my brother's gay as well, and I don't see it.
It's probably because I'm not wearing my pride shirt. Like
my brother, he wears his little shorts and stuff and tank tops, but I don't see my brother as gay. I just see him as my brother. I don't know how it's hard for people to see people for people than what they are. They're titled as. So when I seen Caleb, I didn't see his cerebral palsy. I just knew that he was a guy that drove a car and like a normal person. I can see if he was in a wheelchair or something and he couldn't walk or he was crawling or asking me to help him with everything, then I can see, he has a disability. But I didn't see any of that. Like when I didn't know he had a disability until he just sat on the couch and told us. So I didn't know, I didn't see it. So it was like I can't ask something I didn't see.
That makes sense. I wanted to give you an opportunity to elaborate a little bit. I know that was a little while back, but
You're fine.
so Mike Rowe explained a little bit about what Jesus influencers are.
A person who promotes Jesus and the Holy Scripture influences others to become saved. Now, Mike, before we get into before we get
yes,
into,
that was somebody carrying Snorlax.
Before we get into your question, I'm going to go ahead and ask you: are you asking somebody specifically on the couch, or are you just addressing your question to all of us?
Just the silence and then the toilet flushing in the background.
Yeah.
But yeah, is that question for all of us? Is it for a specific person in general?
In general.
I'm
I guess we can go down the couch. All right, thank you.
Thank you for that question. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Stephen, you want to go ahead and answer your question first, or? Okay. So I guess I'm gonna elaborate of what Mike had asked. So Mike, and I'm just gonna elaborate the question as best as I possibly can, just to make sure that we have an understanding. So you're asking the general audience here on the couch if any of us influence or promotes Jesus in the Holy Scripture.
Are we answering now?
No.
Well, I'm guessing. Yeah.
I'm guessing that's his question.
So actually, this is
I'm just
interesting,
elaborating.
and I think I might know maybe where that's coming from, maybe. But like somebody at work, actually, I was talking. Okay, he said yes. So yeah, what you explained is correct. I was telling somebody about Seat at the Table, and I was explaining the show. I told them the name of it, and they looked at me and they're like,
y'all have the cross. That's why he probably said that. The cross up at the top.
oh.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of too.
Okay. Well, then I'm just gonna not say what I was about to say. Okay, that would be. Let me start by saying it would be very interesting if we were. Just saw the Rainbow Cross banner. Okay, all right, that makes sense. Thank you, Mike, for explaining.
Appreciate that, man.
I kind of noticed when
So, for me at least, in short, no. But hold on. Not specifically, not directly.
just like a Bible study type thing.
So like the cross logo is it's just the More Than Friends logo. The reason why we went with that design is it's kind of a plus. So the plus is supposed to reference more than, which could be taken in a lot of symbolic different directions. But in this case, it's the idea of treating somebody as more than friends, which I know is a double entendre that was intended, but it's this idea of treating other people as family. So regardless of where they come from, who they are, what they look like, anything, it's just basically about kindness, which I guess in a way could be promoting some aspects of the Holy Scripture, or the lifestyle that Jesus allegedly led. But we are not specifically a religious organization. We have had religious people speak. We have had non-religious people speak. Really what we want to do is promote... no, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
It's a good question. It's a really good question. We understand that, as Stephen said, the cross symbol, can be construed or misconstrued for different aptitudes, so to speak. So we definitely understand where you're coming from with it.
Yeah, but I think without having equality, things like that. It basically, we want everything that we do, whether it's Seat at the Table, even with the Diaries of a Trophy Whore podcast, which would be an interesting name for a religious organization.
Yeah, that would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Also, More Than Friends would be an interesting name for a religious organization.
Right.
All these things. But really, with all of the projects that we get involved with, we just want to focus on giving a voice to other people, especially with seat at the table, but like also promoting kindness, empathy, even though we'll dabble in other things, some things that may be considered irrelevant to that kind of thing, like video games with the Diaries of a Trophy Whore podcast, which is actually about other things than video games. Spoiler alert. But also with some upcoming projects that may or may not dabble in some unsavory topics that are
unsavory sauces that
taste delicious.
Delicious, and some also with the acquired taste. So we'll just have to see. But
personally, I'm not a religious person. Sometimes I consider myself spiritual, but I identify as agnostic. I just believe in spreading kindness and letting people believe what they want, as long as it does not negatively affect other people. So that's kind of where I stand. But,
and that's the same with me as well. I don't view myself as religious at all. I feel that even if I were a religious person, it wouldn't be my job to
be a Jesus influencer.
It should be up to the person that wants to be more religious or not. So.
Well, since we're speaking of religion, I am. Okay. I am.
All right.
I'm spiritual. I grew up in the church. My family my immediate family has grown up in the church, but I'm not really.
I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at you. It's just.
What?
I know the comments, Alan.
A lot of shitty comments.
A lot of shitty comments. So
that was a pun.
But I'm religious, but I'm not. I'm spiritual, but I'm not necessarily religious. I don't currently go to church or anything like that.
I'm so sorry. Oh my god.
I think that.
Oh.
Okay.
This is a new topic. I mean, other than all the other stuff, it's kind of sandwiched in between the arsehole and the bum.
You want to go ahead and open that question too?
Is it open the arsehole and the bum?
No. I'm talking about.
Sorry, that's the other podcast.
What Mike was talking about. Mike was saying, should we? She was saying that personally,
he wants to ban religion.
Religion should be banned.
This can be
these comments are just somebody strolling.
Thank you for the comments. Feel free to just continue to spam. It's fine. Anyways, I think at this point we can just. I don't have the time or the energy to ban them right now. If they want to troll, it's fine. I don't care. They're giving us comments. They're giving us views. They're helping us. Whatever. So let them do their shit posting. Literally, that's fine.
Speaking of which, before we go ahead and get into that question, if you guys want to like and subscribe, as you guys are joining us for our first podcast here, See at the Table live on YouTube.
Yeah.
So definitely like and subscribe for more additional content. But go ahead.
So Mike said that he believes that all religions should be banned, or something along those lines. That's fine that you feel that way, Mike. I think that's a little extreme for my take. Fundamental people should be banned. Okay, so I think that's a little too extreme. Is basically, I think people should be free to believe whatever they want, and I think that as long as it doesn't negatively affect other people. And I think when something negatively affects other people, that's when we start to have an issue. So people can believe whatever religion they want. They can believe whatever just whatever they want to believe. But
So to add on to what Mike was saying, he was saying fundamental people interpret scripture wrong and scam folks. Now, there's different types of, I guess, sectors of religion. Not everybody follows different types of religion. I agree with what Stephen says. I mean, everybody's going to wind up. Everybody believes what they want to believe in. We personally, as individuals, we don't have any room to judge anybody else. And that doesn't just go for us here on the couch or within this apartment, but also everybody around the world. If I'm very spiritual or if I'm very religious and I feel a certain type of way about religion or whatever, and Sawyer here doesn't, well then I can't judge him, and he doesn't have and vice versa. So I mean, to me, how I feel about it, everybody has their own thought processes when it comes to religion. And so with me, there are a lot of countries who strictly stick to religion. It's one of their their main principles. I believe the American society is a little bit more loose when it comes to religion. Just because there is so many different
certain
facets. Well, certain religions, just because there is so many different facets. And
I feel like Western religion is fine in the U.S., but the second you're not a Bible-based religion, I feel like the U.S. isn't as welcoming, which is unfortunate, but yeah.
So that's our 2 cents on that.
Thank you, Mike, for the question.
Thank you on that, Mike.
And for all the comments, Mike.
And for everybody else who helped explore any comments.
I don't feel like thanking all of them. Some of them, yeah. But,
they're okay.
But other ones, yeah. Some of them are okay.
You're gonna have trolls. You're just gonna have trolls. It just.
How much phone ring?
Overall, it's okay.
Whose phone is ringing?
Probably one of theirs.
Oh, it's fine. Okay.
But either way, we are.
How long have we been going?
I know we've been about.
Oh, it says up there. Yeah, an hour and a
An
half.
hour and a half.
Well, it took us like 10 minutes to start, so.
Yeah, sure. So
We've been going up for.
Yeah, it feels like it's been 30 minutes.
It really has. Any other questions that you have, Mike, or anybody else that's in the audience?
I'm scared to ask. Yeah, any last minute questions?
Before we take off here.
Yeah. And while we're waiting for any last minute questions to come in, I just want to say thank you everybody for watching. And also, if you feel so inclined, if you would like to support More Than Friends or the show Seat at the Table, go to www.mtfproductions.com. I just added a donate button, so if you scroll to the bottom, you should see, or isn't it at the top? It's somewhere. There's a donate button. Right there. Click on. The link is mtfproductions.com. Go there, click on donate. You can choose what you want to donate to. So you can donate to Seat at the Table, or you can donate to More Than Friends as a whole, and the money will be spread across all of our projects. But either way, the money that you donate helps support our projects. It helps support independent artists, small business owners. It helps us with improving the quality of our streams, which I know have been kind of across the board.
Yeah, they've been across the board.
Hopefully this one has been fine for everyone. But it'll help us fund new equipment, and also maybe some events coming up, which actually I need to talk to you about. I totally forgot. Jesus, I'm breaking shit. I totally forgot to tell you that we have an event coming up.
Right. Awesome.
Our first event since COVID. So stay tuned for that on the Seat at the Table and the More Than Friends Facebook page.
We will post it.
Be sure to like our page on Facebook. It's facebook.com/BeMoreThanFriends. There you'll see all kinds of updates, new content, things like that. And the Seat at the Table page, which I think is Seat at the Table, Facebook.com/Seat at the Table podcast.
I believe so. I had to double check.
It's a weird name because Seat at the Table was already taken. But anyways, you can.
It might be with Caleb and Steven.
Yeah.
Which is up there, right above me, right above my head, like right here.
Yeah, that's the Seat at the Table logo.
So,
the Wild Friends logo.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanna, welcome to the post it. And I mean, we've been having some really, really good support ever since our first episode. It's just been taking off like wildfire. And we really do appreciate everybody who's been tuning in and giving their support, questions, all of that good stuff to the guests that's been on the show, like Sawyer, Chantel was a previous guest, just many people, and we definitely appreciate you guys. All right. Well,
hold on, one more thing. Also, if you want to support More Than Friends or Seat at the Table without just giving your money away, you can visit mtfproductions.com and click on Shop, and you'll actually get something for giving us
yes!
money.
We have coasters and buttons, and might as well go ahead and start getting T-shirts, because I want one.
T-shirts are expensive.
But you can give at least 3. Give one to me, give one to her, and then ship one.
No, I have a person that you can get.
Okay, see, she got a connection. Bing!
We had, Chantel was on here. So we've had girl, and also our last live show we had 2 females.
2.
I don't like that I use the word.
One of
females
them's right
like
here. She's off camera.
We had 2 women. I just don't like describing someone as female. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, 2 women. That was here. Very, very, very good podcast.
Yeah, and actually next week we're gonna
have another.
We're gonna have
a young lady.
Yeah.
Actually, his sister.
Yep. So if you thought seeing one of me was awful,
she's nice. She's nice. She's cool.
Yeah. Actually, we might as well announce the next show. If you guys want to, next week, probably Friday or Saturday.
Yeah.
Those days. If you want to tune in,
Saturday.
Probably around the same time, we're going to have another guest, and we are going to have an opportunity for you all to help us contribute to local children's hospitals.
Cincinnati Children's Hospital is one big one that we're aiming for the promotion to go towards. So.
Yep, and for more information, stay tuned on our Facebook pages, and I guess we'll see you next week during our live show for that.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no! We're still here, I promise. They can still hear us. It's just the controller. It took a long time for it to die. It said like an hour ago that the thing would...
Oh, great. All right, well, yay. Apologize about that light difficulty. Well, I guess we can use this music.
The music.
We're going to go ahead and take off.
Jesus, what is happening?
We've been on...
God damn it.
Yeah, and that's...
Go! Hey!
Oh, boy. We're... First short. Make sure this next controller is charged, okay?
Alright, I had it unplugged because I had all this other shit plugged in.
Alright, guys. We'll go ahead and take up off of here. Definitely appreciate your everything here today. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Sawyer, for bringing.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
He had to drive to be on the show.
Yes.
So,
How long did you go? How long did you drive?
About 2 hours.
Oh, Jesus. Oh! Oh! Put some confetti on the screen. Oh, okay. Too much confetti is getting in my mouth. All right, guys. Well, from Steven, myself, Sawyer, our other guest, and my hands flailing in the air to mess with
I love that
confetti.
everything fell apart at the end. Jesus.
Have a good rest of your Saturday night and a wonderful start to your weekend and week. And we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
You've been with us here, Seat at the Table.
And also with you, Puff and Stuff. Also with you. Alright.
Oh, boy.
See you all later.
See ya.
Oh.
Well, it's not off yet.
Everybody